All right, cheesers, it's video catch-up time for me. Doing this and then doing the recap right after it. So what this is just a quick explanation on what we're racing with the HRL Mixed Terrain Series. You saw the trailer come out, or the teaser trailer come out recently. And I feel like I think it did a pretty good job of showcasing like what we're racing, but there still could be like a couple questions here or there, so try to clear that up the best I can in this one. So what this is here is this is just like a mock schedule, essentially. Obviously, a lot of slots to fill in here, but this is essentially like what the schedule will end up looking like. Just fill in the tracks with whatever tracks we end up choosing. I'm going to try to do as many new ones that we possibly can here, but of course, that's probably not going to be the case for all of them, like especially the MXs. Those take a lot of time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see like maybe one or two new ones of those and then fill in ones that are already established for the other slots probably. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But as far as like terrain oval goes, we could easily do ones that we didn't race last season or new ones cooked up for that. A lot of room there to keep experimenting before we actually do a terrain oval season. So yeah, I think that should be pretty easy to do, pretty easy to fill in. The pure terrain, which I want to explain a little bit more about in a bit too. I think that should be pretty easy to have new tracks for. But there should be some other options there too if needed. And then RX, kind of the same deal, I think we could probably cook up some new RXs, but definitely some good old ones if we need. So for the specific track types, terrain oval, I'll just say right away, you know, same thing as last season, except you can go a little bit bigger, I guess, if you can somehow come up with like a bigger terrain oval layout. I guess there's no like restriction on that this time around, but yeah, it's terrain ovals like the same stuff that we saw last season. So yeah, nothing too crazy there. Rallycross, essentially you can do, well, it is mixed terrain series. I would say for the RXs, you know, try to focus on the terrain if you can, but RX does have the most mixed terrain potential, so you can do the most like GP like stuff with the RXs. But yeah, definitely try to have a good mix, I would say. And then obviously you can have a Joker on these, or I'd prefer if there was a Joker on these. And would generally lean towards having it be a long Joker, but I'm not really going to have a requirement for that. Like if you want to have a short Joker, knock yourself out. But would generally prefer a long Joker probably. But yeah, you go crazy. You can have some jumps and stuff like that. Usual things that we see out of RX. MX should be like self-explanatory, same motocross tracks that we've seen. With terrain and like all the jumps and stuff filled in, and berms and whatnot. Yeah, if you've seen any other MX track before, just anything like that will work for that. And then lastly, pure terrain. So this one I felt like deserved the most explanation because it could be kind of confusing, because in the trailer, it, you know, could look just like a TRS track. And I did say terrain rally. Although notably, terrain rally, I did not include the showdown. That's my technicality here that I'm going to use. But I did say terrain rally in the trailer too. But I want to specify that for these, the pure terrain tracks are, well, just that. Like it's purely terrain. Like the terrain ovals and maybe even the MX with some of the jumps, and like the RX with some of the layouts, you can do a little bit of a mix. You can have a little bit of you know, blocks here or there potentially. But for pure terrain, want it to be essentially just layouts made like on multiplayer maps, just like as pure as possible, and no collisions. So that's the big one that I thought was really important to clarify now before people go too crazy with these, because I think if you saw the trailer, you might just assume like it's the same TRS stuff, but it's not the same TRS stuff. No collisions in these. So you could look at the pure as, you know, not just pure terrain in the sense of, again, like how it's made, but also pure terrain in that it's just, like pure racing like that. Like the collision factor, the Joker factor, whatever crazy stuff that could potentially be in a TRS, not a thing with these. So like, for example, the track that I used in the trailer, it's on my files now. I think it's Seidel terrain. Yeah, it should be pretty up there on my files. If you check that out, and of course, saw it in the trailer. That's a good example of like what we're going for with these. There's no collisions on that one, if you couldn't tell from the trailer. No collision zones on that one. So I think that'd be a good example to go by. So yeah, I think that explains everything pretty well as far as like what the track should be and like how to cook these up. Other than that, look at the schedule. Mostly 2 track nights. I think there's 1 Triple Crown thrown in there, and then another Triple Crown thrown in here. So yeah, and then the grand final at the end as well. So this one is a bit longer. The short track showdown was 8 weeks. This is 12 weeks. I want to say Mega Mix was 14 or 15 weeks off the top of my head. But we also had the tournament that I placed in there too. So yeah, Mega Mix was the super long one. Short Track Showdown was the more like quicker season, and then this one's like kind of like the typical season length, I would say. As far as format goes, I would say we'll dial that all in when we get closer to starting, but expect something similar to like the general race format in Mega Mix with like heats returning. But yeah, we'll do like the one moto on, like for example this night, be like heats on this track, and then the moto on this track, and then go do the invert moto on that track, and then that's kind of like how it would go. So yeah, like basically what a general night would be in Mega Mix. Like that's what I would come to expect for this series. That's what I would expect for this. So yeah, so that's formatting. I guess for rally crosses in particular, we'll probably do whether you can. I'd say Joker on the last lap will always be allowed, but whether you can do it on the first lap or not will be track dependent. And then it'll probably be like 2 Jokers. Yeah, like 2 Jokers per race. Probably like 1 in the heat. Yeah, same stuff on terrain ovals, same like caution rules, and we're doing the same GWC or lack thereof rules. So yeah, nothing really changed there. So that should clear up all the basic questions that I can think of that I would hope there would be. If there's anything else, of course, just go ahead and leave it in the comments, or you can always ask on Discord. We're going to be trying to keep track of different tracks we could use here too. We're going to try to fill out this track sheet. As you can see, already a lot of terrain ovals, and I'm sure there'll probably be a couple more added. So going to be pretty competitive for those slots as far as the season goes, because there's just so many, and there's probably some that we didn't get to last season that like maybe aren't included here as well. That's pretty funny. But yeah, so a lot of choices there, and then we'll fill in. There's definitely a lot of choices for the pure terrain tracks. Or Obix just said like just rally. That's a good simple way to put it. The rally tracks, we'll figure that out. I'm sure there'll be a lot of options there, and there'll be some new ones cooked up. And then yeah, Rallycross and MX we'll figure out, because like I said, I would expect maybe 1 or 2 new MXs to be cooked up. I'd be shocked if there was like more than that. But we'll fill this out in the coming weeks, and we'll fill out the schedule. I'd say we'll try to get a as always, it'll be like tentative. It'll be just like last season, just like Mega Mix. Like we might, as the season goes, if things come up, like we might move things around a little bit, but we'll try to come up with like a schedule filled with tracks, right? We'll try to have a track filled in each slot. Some of them will probably be like highlighted in yellow to some extent, where it's like, okay, this one we kind of want to swap, but it's just there for now. But I'll say like we'll try to have a schedule with all tracks filled in by like a week out, like a week before we start. And there's still a long these dates are pretty accurate. That's the one thing in the schedule that like I do want to stick to. So there's still a long ways to go. So if you want to do some forging, as you can see, there's plenty of time to do it. So if you have an idea, if you have some inspiration, go for it. There is a lot of time before we fill out that like first version of the schedule. And then even then we might swap things around, and it's a long ass season. So plenty of time to do stuff there. That's all I have for this one. I'm going to go do the recap after this, but that's all I have for this one. Again, one more time, if you have any questions or anything like that, let me know, because I think I covered everything, but I might have forgot something off the top of my head. You never know. But yeah, GG's, and see you guys in the next one.